This is ShadowQuant, Crypto Edition, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Sunday, April 12, 2026, and this is the After Hours session. Now, let's get into it. The market is in a full panic, fear, and greed at 14, crypto down 3–5%, and the VIX is at 19. But here's the twist. The bulls are still trying to buy the dip. What's the real story behind this fear, and who's really in control of the narrative? We're starting the week with a massive gap down in crypto, with Bitcoin and Ethereum both trading at multi-week lows. The VIX is still in the mid-19s, and we're seeing a 3.27% drop in Bitcoin. The macro backdrop is mixed. The yield curve is still normal, credit spreads are narrowing, and the Fed is on hold. But the fear is real. The sentiment composite is at 54.2, and the AD ratio is at 0.67. So, what's next? Let's break it down. We're seeing a perfect storm of negative sentiment. The fear and greed index is at 14, and Reddit is buzzing with panic. But here's the kicker. The AD ratio is still at 0.67, which is above the 0.5 threshold for a rising trend. So, while the mood is bad, the market is still technically in a rising trend. That's a key point. We also have the weekly COT data coming out this week. If the commercial positions are still at 100th percentile, that's a big signal. But right now, the sentiment is screaming sell, but the data is saying buy.
Looking at the charts, the key level to watch is $70,000 for Bitcoin. If we break below that, we could see a test of $66,000. But if we hold that, we might see a bounce towards $74,000. On Ethereum, the key level is $2,100. If we break that, we could see a move toward $2,250. But the real question is, can we hold these levels in the face of such extreme fear? The volume is low, but the technical setup is still intact. I'm watching for a reversal pattern, but I'm not seeing it yet.
On-chain data is showing that the flow of capital is still in a bearish trend. The COT data is still showing commercial positions at the 100th percentile, which is a bullish sign. But the funding rates are still negative, especially for Solana and XRP. That's a red flag. However, the decentralized finance TVL is still holding up, and the stablecoin flows are positive. So, there's some support from the institutional side. But I'm not seeing a strong bullish signal yet. It's still a bear market.
Here's the thing, the market is in a state of extreme fear, but the technicals are still in a rising trend. That's a classic setup for a false breakout. But I'm also seeing that the VIX is still at 19, which is a moderate level. So, the volatility isn't screaming for a big move. However, the real risk is in the short-term traders. The funding rates are still negative, which means the shorts are paying a premium. That's a sign of a potential reversal, but I'm not seeing a strong bullish signal yet. I'm still in the bear camp.
Putting it all together, the macro is still in a risk-on regime, but the sentiment is screaming fear. That's a contradiction. The technicals are still in a rising trend, and the on-chain data is showing some support. But the real question is, can the market hold these levels in the face of such extreme fear? I'm not sure, but I'm not seeing a strong bearish signal either. So the narrative is still up in the air. The key is to watch the COT data and the on-chain flows.
The sentiment is extreme, but the data is still in a rising trend. My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $68,000 by Friday.
The technicals are still in a rising trend, but the volume is low. My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bullish, target $72,000 by Friday.
The on-chain data is showing some support, but the flows are still bearish. My 24-hour call, Ethereum bearish, target $2,100 by Friday.
The volatility is still at a moderate level, but the short-term traders are paying a premium. My 24-hour call, Solana bearish, target $75 by Friday.
The macro is still in a risk-on regime, but the sentiment is screaming fear. My 24-hour call, XRP neutral, target $1.25 by Friday.
If you're finding value in this analysis, support the project at Patreon. patreon.com/ShadowQuant. Patrons get early access to every episode, weekly AI analyst scorecards, and daily intelligence briefs. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, hit that follow button and leave a rating. It helps more traders discover the show. We appreciate you. This content is generated by artificial intelligence and is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial advice. Crypto markets are highly volatile. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Crypto Edition. Stay tuned for the Tokyo session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.